we're round about the page where Heaviside, for the first time, formulated Maxwell's equations, because Maxwell's books are a bit of a jumble, aren't they? You know, he has 12 equations or whatever. But if you go 14 pages earlier, there is what I've marked in this book. Now, this is Heaviside writing when he's approximately 33. This is page 438 of Electrical Papers, Volume 1. We reverse this. The current in the wire is set up by the energy transmitted through the medium around it. Now that is the statement of Heaviside's theory, which I call Theory H. And that is far from the electric current flowing in the wires causing the field. The battery is not desperate to drive out electrons and pull in holes or whatever. It was desperate to drive out electromagnetic field.
If electricity was purely electrons flowing on wires, there wouldn't be any crosstalk between conductors and computers that Catt discovered.
Is important. His great contribution was the phrase energy current. You move away from electric current, which is what flows down the wires, to energy current, which is like the train going to Edinburgh, is guided by the wires.
Where do electrons going towards right and lower conductor at speed of light come from?
I think what's coming is good, you see. So Ivor Catt was at the forefront of high-speed logic. He was hired into Motorola in 1964. Went to America in 62, 63 on the turn of the years, December 31st. And then I was a year and a half in Los Angeles. Takes me up to 64. Then I was, So I arrived at Motorola 64 because Motorola were concerned that they were making the fastest logic and they needed an expert on interconnecting it. And money was flowing in to get good Americans, freedom-loving Americans, to the moon, you know, which was a difficult problem. And
there's a pretty severe run-in between mathematics and physics over Oliver Heaviside, 1850 to 1925, the innovator of vector calculus, who's still suppressed today. He published in the Electrician journal against opposition from people who didn't want him to be writing about mathematical physics. He put Maxwell's equations into vector calculus. And part of the problem is the ether, as our Einstein and Leopold Infield write in the Evolution of Physics. We should wipe out the ether and prevent any fabric of space existing in our understanding of physics, to keep it completely mathematical. But that loses all understanding of what's really going on. Maxwell's treatise, Article 791, Figure 67, false light theory, electric displacement and magnetic force at right angles to one another, oscillating along the direction of propagation, something debunked by Ivor Catt.
Electricity was only got rid of by Catt in 1976, and it's the last of the medieval fluids.
Yeah, so you have energy current.
It is not a train, it's a thing, and it is not. There is no precedent for energy current because in the middle of a printed circuit board probing the thing as it goes round, and I see a pulse which does not change, travelling at the speed of light, which Einstein said was absurd. You see, so that's the end. Because he always says, he's always attributed, when I was 14, I thought if I pursued the ray of light at the speed of light, I would see a stationary oscillation in space, but that is absurd.
Well, let's just translate that into English.
Excuse me, once you say that's absurd, then you can go the route of
just for the benefit of people
of relativity.
Yeah, just for the benefit of people listening. You're saying, you see, what you saw is, you saw that electricity is actually light, and
I saw it. Yeah. I saw it. Yeah. Going past me at the speed of light, not changing. Yeah. If it's a sine wave, the sine wave did not wiggle. Yeah. And this is the point. If you take a sine wave on a piece of board and you move the piece, a drawing, look, drawing of a sine wave, and you move, it looks as though it's wiggling if you hide the two ends, but it's not wiggling. That's the point. And so, they drifted into what I call in my article the Heaviside signal in Wireless World in, say, something like 1980. The Heaviside signal, that's called the rolling wave.
Yeah.
Where the voltage, where the electric field causes the magnetic field causes the electric field, which was the kind that Hertz came up with, you see.
Well,
Maxwell. Well, all of them. The changing electric field causes the magnetic field, changing magnetic field, and that's consonant with Einstein saying it's absurd to have this thing wiggling in space.
Yeah, so that's the Einstein.
But now, if you draw a sine wave on a piece of paper and you move it along, if you run alongside it, you'll see a stationary. Well, in Einstein's time, you'll see a stationary oscillation in space, won't you? If you stand still, it'll wiggle if you don't look at too much of it.
Yeah.
But there was no wiggling, and that's what I call the Heaviside signal. Is the one where you say it's a stationary. Don't call it oscillation. A stationary waveform moving forward at the speed of light. Now, if you go back to the observer, the one eye, looking at a pair of wires and watching something go by. Don't worry about the source. Don't worry about the destination. You shouldn't have to. If you're in the middle of the ocean, you should be able to study the behaviour of water to some degree just looking at 10 square yards of water. You shouldn't have to say, who caused the waves, where did it break on the shore, and all that stuff. You see, you should be able to, and that's what I did, and that's the breakthrough, because he says at every point, E and H should be in a fixed proportion, 377, and E to H must not change. Now, if the relationship doesn't change, you can't have rolling. Electromagnetic transmission in the ether behave the same as sound which is in air.
Precisely,
Why impose, because, and obviously, and of course more so if they've got rid of the ether. There isn't even the ether for the stuff to, roll, and E causes H causes E causes H. The whole thing's just absurd. But that's an important experiment. Because, you see, in Galileo's time, your first defence was to say you'd never heard of Galileo. Increasing spectrum of science, fundamental science, aren't they? Because they fear that either they're stupid or there's fundamental flaws, but everybody else is pretending the emperor's well dressed. You see, but occasionally it flashes out, like Lynn Trainer, professor of that kind of thing at the University of something or other in Canada, says most of what's written in modern physics is bunk. So you get that kind of thing. But other people interpret that as meaning the great humility of modern physicists. Did you notice that? You say, oh, they're marvellous. They even question their own discoveries, you see. I mean, you can't get out of this jam, you see. So I said, during the Kilmister one, about the problem I'd seen, that in Michelson Morley, which predates wave-particle dualism, what traverses from the sender to the destination must be particle. Because as you pointed out with this guy Penrose, you're dealing, in Michelson Morley, you're dealing with one part in a million or a million, aren't you? So if you send two parallel beams of light, they'll interfere with each other. So they've got to be particles, you see.
Sideways.
If you put cardboard barriers between them, you'll get ether drag. So you've got to expose it. All right, I didn't say that. I said the trouble, of course, is that when the light is going from source to destination, it must be particle. But at destination, it must be wave, because you don't do the speed of propagation, you do the arrival time. You do the arrival time by interference fringes. Now, most important that Kilmister, the lecturer, when I said that's never been mentioned before. Now, you now have to watch how often it was mentioned afterwards. The answer is that's the last time it was mentioned. Did Kilmister ever mention that to anybody? You see? Now you realise, as I've written, that science today is like a game of chess. And you have agreed axioms, or agreed facts, what I call factoids, which you manipulate. But you're not allowed to threaten one of the facts. And you're not allowed to bring in another fact. Like the impedance of free space, 377 ohms, doesn't exist in modern physics. Because I researched that for decades, for mention of 377. The only time it was mentioned was by one of the guys who went to Solvay, I forget which, in Wireless World, and he got it wrong. He said 477 in passing, you see.
Okay.
One of these great names who went to set up the new dogma of modern physics, you see.
Well, that's the product of the permeability of space and the speed of light, isn't it? The 377. You multiply the 4 pi...
Root mu over h.
Yeah.
Now, the speed is 1 over root mu h. All right. And I proceed down that way by saying the fundamentals are not mu and epsilon. Mu h, sorry. The 377 is
mu
root mu, root mu over epsilon. The square root...
It's equal to...
The introduction of compulsory education for the whole population.
Right.
That cracked it. And he said, I think he said, that it was 1830 in Europe and 1870 in Britain. But compulsory education meant a community of knowledge brokers, salaried knowledge brokers developed, who had to stabilise the knowledge base.
Yeah.
Now, they didn't know that they had to freeze knowledge. And it took, say, a century for them to realise that they cannot cope with a changing knowledge base.
Yeah, because there's no mechanism by which they can update it rationally. It has to be a series of wacky revolutions and all that stuff.
No, well, I mean, in a sense, that's Kuhn. But the point is, if you're heading for your pension and you're heading for your promotion, and your wife is getting sassy because she wants a nicer car, a new car, you know, you're going to threaten being fired. Like, for instance, in the religious case. The big breakthrough, for instance, was Renan, Vida Jesu, 1850. He was kicked out as professor and kicked out as of the priesthood
for heresy.
Yeah, and then the recent one is Thomas L. Thompson, The Bible in History. He was out of all academia because of his research into biblical studies, and he ended up painting houses for 15 years.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Now, Catt, when did all that stuff that academia, the professionals throw at you, did it very well, got to Cambridge, which is the seat of orthodoxy, not
Trinity
the seat
College,
of Trinity College, Cambridge, you see. So he's the seat of orthodoxy, Catt is. And according to Kuhn, well, to some degree according to Kuhn, the people most expert in it will find the flaws in the orthodoxy. But once they do, you know, like Renan or Thomas L. Thompson or Catt, or of course Galileo, they're thrown out and they're called heresy. I wasn't heretic. If you look at modern physics and compare with what Catt said, Catt is much more in the tradition of 19th century science than modern physics. In fact, they say they're revolutionary, you see. The whole thing's totally mad.
But I mean, Maxwell was a 19th century scientist. The 19th century is a bit confusing, isn't it? Because you're not really pro-Maxwell. So
no, but
Maxwell was 19th century, or was he 18th century?
No, Maxwell was harmless enough in his time. Now, Catt, you see, is harmless enough now, but when Catt becomes the new orthodoxy, then that'll be frozen.
Yeah.
And any advance beyond Catt will be blocked. You see, for a century. I mean, what you're showing is that the delay for the next step forward is generally 50 years in the time of, say, Lavoisier, but now it's more than a century before you can make the next step forward. The whole thing, because of the professionalization, whereas before the people we've mentioned, science was the hobby of wealthy men who made their money up. Well, I don't know about Cavendish, but you know, people like Boole, you know, the mechanical criminal heat. They were successful businessmen, and they could afford for their theory to be overturned. But once you pay people, I've said in the book, The Catt Anomaly.
So you say it's corrupt, that's basically... It's a
no, but it's bound to be corrupted. Once you pay a man to make advances in a body of knowledge, he will freeze the body of knowledge. He has to.
But who said that? Some politician said it. Was Lord someone who said power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So that's basically...
That's more general. That's more general.
Too general. Okay.
No, and the trouble is that citing power. But the driving force
there is power in education.
No, the driving force...
Knowledge is power.
The driving force is fear now.
Right.
What controls it, and I've said in the Catt Anomaly, is the slab of lecture notes to be given in 2 hours. And that brings in the lecturer, say, £30 a year or £60 a year. And he can't cope with rewriting them. That's why you can add a new branch to a body of knowledge, because he just writes some more notes. But you can't. What you can't.
Why
do,
can't he do it? Why is this thing?
Because his reputation is destroyed. His reputation is destroyed.
And it's hard work too, because all the textbooks copy one another more or less in the basic ideas, don't they? One textbook.
Yeah, but then they reinforce each other and they assure the funding for each other. Look, the textbook writer.
Orwell. The history in the history. Sorry.
The textbook writer writes the book, which the lecturer tells the students to buy.
Yeah.
The lecturer stands behind the book, you see.
Yeah.
Now, when I was learning how to be a teacher, one of the many times, the lecturer waffled on about his Bible with this man, this book, you see. So he read a section out of this book, and then I said, well, yeah, but page 243. I said, yeah, but what about page 157? And I read something that was the exact opposite.
Right.
Now, you know what he did? He closed the lecture, sent everybody. He sent everybody home.
Right. Yeah.
You see, so the catastrophe when you threaten the orthodoxy in any subject for the profession. He was a professional.
Right.
You see, I could go away and carry on lecturing, but this was the theory of how to teach or how to lecture, and I was causing trouble in there. Now that's what Catt's doing. That's what Jesus did. You see, and the point is, the reason they do it, Jesus and Catt and who are the other ones, Renaud, is in order to save the orthodoxy, because they can see the flaws in the orthodoxy, in the dogma, have to be improved. So this is the point. They're not improving. They're improving by destroying, because it's a total misinterpretation of Kuhn when it says, you know, they say he has the correspondence principle, you know, that every theory must contain the previous theory as a subset. That was somebody called Jules Watt, who's also called Ken Smith, University of Kent.
Yeah.
When I told Kuhn that, he was very upset. He said, I keep getting misinterpreted. And if you read Kuhn 3 times in his book, he said, progress is by way of destruction. You see? Now, so this is the problem. If progress is by way of destruction...
Destroying rubbish.
Well, not rubbish. It was the
misunderstanding.
You see, what happens is it's not Popper and Polanyi even. You modify it,
right.
But they panic. They can't modify it because they've written the shallow stuff. You see.
Well, I mean, modification is problem. I mean, here's a bit.
No, that's the trouble. You don't just modify it. Sometimes you have to remove something, like you have to remove electric. You see.
Okay. Well, this is a bit.
And that's where they stop you. And what they do. This is why apparently they'll allow progress. They'll allow bells and whistles, but not. You see, I've said, and it's called kosher or knowledge advances safe if it doesn't alter the textbook for A level or the textbook for the first degree. It's all right if it adds to the material. You see, like in A level and first degree, you can suddenly bring in crystal, what's it called? You know, like your watch. No, you turn the stuff through 90 degrees. You know, in your watch, you can add it as a new section which wasn't known before. You can't have new insight, which modifies a section that's already there. You see, so nowadays in England, in order for that man not to be chased out of his house and never see his children again, which is what his wife will do, with the support of orthodoxy represented by the law and represented by everybody, he has to defend the existing body of knowledge, and they use the existing body of knowledge, they test each other in it, and they promote each other on its basis. Now, and you've got to use the existing body of knowledge to get your research funding. And whereas my uncle said you must have research and teaching in the same institution, I'm saying absolutely the reverse. You've got to totally separate research from teaching, because teaching is the old stuff.
Well,
and once you allow the teachers to have any control over anything new, then the whole thing freezes.
Right.
Now, the rise and fall of bodies of knowledge. Sorry, you're desperate to say something. No. The rise and fall of bodies of knowledge, an article by me, which is on the web, says that if you do that, if you freeze it, then, well, you have to, as it gets more bigger body of knowledge, you have to allow less stuff in. You know, and it takes time to process that and fit it out. If the editor doesn't suppress Catt, then electronics will be boycotted by the academic community. Because the academic community cannot have dispute at a fundamental level. Because we're talking about dogma
Yeah,
here.
fortunately, a lot of people.
God, you let me say it at last.
Yeah, sorry. Fortunately, a lot of people who buy Electronics World are just interested in circuit design, so it's not.
They're not interested.
They're not interested in suppressing Electronics World too much, unless there's too much politics in it.
Yeah,
it
but
makes it boring.
when that article was published, December '78, Atomic Energy Authority got boroughs to go to the editor and say, you must suppress Catt, otherwise you'll be boycotted.
Yeah, well,
so there were enough people.
That's the witch hunt, isn't it?
Yeah, they were. I mean, you look at Atomic Energy Authority in Cullen. They're not engineers. They're a bunch of maths punchers, aren't you know?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's,
well, whatever they are, there were enough
idiots.
readers.
Well,
there were enough readers of Wireless World to say you mustn't rock the boat for academia. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So, in the case of
he carried on publishing.
Pardon?
He carried on publishing. That was Tom Ivel.
Well, he dug his heels in. He carried on for reasons that I've explained. But so your point that readers of Electronics World, or Wireless World as it was then, are not concerned about an attack on the establishment theory.
Well, some of them
is
are.
disproved. Yeah, well, enough of them, because that was bad for Ivel.
Yeah.
It did damage Ivel that they came after him.
Yeah.
Because they went to his boss. You see that you mustn't be shown in an art gallery where lower status artists are shown. When we came back at the end of the war, my father came back from Jap prisoner of war camp. We went to live in.
So he was imprisoned by the Japanese in the fall of Singapore.
After the yeah.
Yeah.
But he came.
Were you there or?
Yeah. 2 weeks before the
God,
fall.
what was that like?
Come on.
Briefly.
Well, he got us
on. Do you remember
to,
anything?
There were the last 4 boats. He heard there was space, and he got down to the house from the RAF station, and he told us. Told me, my mother and my sister and me, and I was 6, and my sister was 9 or 10.
Yeah.
8 or 9. Yeah. And he said, Cannon, what's his name? The next door neighbour is bringing a car, because the Japanese were shelling. You see, the shells were going over our house because there was a hill behind it.
Yeah.
And so anyway, this car didn't turn up. And there was no traffic, no nothing. I mean, the Japs were just on the mainland.
Right.
And so anyway, in the end, the car turned up, and we stood across the road and told this man he's taking us to the boat.
Yeah.
And I still know his expression when he said it. But a bunch of people and kids standing across the road saying, "Oh, you're taking us to the harbour." Well, so he took us to the harbour, and we got on the boat, and I'd been told you take nothing.
Yeah.
You see, and when I got on the boat, these damn kids had bicycles and everything, and all I had
a military boat or a civilian boat?
No, normal boat.
Okay.
They requisitioned boats.
Right, yeah.
And all I had was this tiny little tin box with a few wires, and they were my only toys, and I'm 6. And then, by mistake, I left them on the table once. I went downstairs and I came back, and there was this man with a great big smile, and he got the box and he was handing these bits all around to the other kids, and I was absolutely appalled, and I walked away. So I lost my last toys. Anyway, there were 2 of our boats, and ours had been bombed in the harbour, and 5 Australians killed. So it's damaged boats. So we only went to Ceylon. And there's our boat and another boat. We went together. But the next 2 boats after us, one was sunk, one survivor. So it was close. But so then we ended up in Ceylon for a few weeks, in a hospital up in the hills, which we call the concentration camp. The next thing I remember was you had a bowl of sugar and a bowl of salt. And I'm a kid eating my porridge at the age of 6. And I poured loads of salt in, and the impact that makes when you're 6, you get. Because I liked a lot of sugar on my porridge. Terrible. But then my mother got another boat and took us somewhere else. But the thing is that then, towards the end, my father was signals, so he went to the airport, to the airfield, to smash up all the electrical equipment.
Right.
And he found everything in perfect condition, because you mustn't damage... you mustn't damage public property.
Yeah.
So that's what you're taught. So they're leaving this in perfect condition for the chaps, you see. So, but everything else was fine. My father got a few people. But before that, the station commander when you know that they had a squadron of Buffaloes, 25-year-old planes,
Yeah.
and they sent those up against the Japanese, and 2 came back. So that was the end of that airfield.
Yeah.
So then the Japanese were pattern bombing, but they always came at 10 a.m.
Ah.
You see, and you get this idea. They say, "See you tomorrow," you know, that kind of.
Yeah.
So every morning, a few people were killed. You see, my father said, "Why don't we go down the road?" You know, except for the people manning the Beauforts. The station commander said, "No, it's good for the men to stand up to fire. So it's good for your morale to sit there while bombs drop on you." Anyway, that man, when the Japs got nearer, he ordered his way on a boat. He ran away to Australia, but he had links with the aristocracy, so he got away with it. But the adjutant ran away too, the station adjutant, but he didn't have family links, so he was cashiered. But then, that's why there was nobody there towards the end. You know, there was no command.
Yeah.
And so you had to do your own thing, but of course you can't if you're disciplined to obey orders.
Yeah.
So nothing happened. But yeah, it was. Oh, and the thing is, on my old website, you look for "What a Life,"
Oh,
"What
right,
a Life"
yeah.
by Sidney Catt, and this is, you look for the date. Date's like 1938, and never published. But when it's not when he was in. Yeah, a bit when he was in Singapore, but then he gets on the boat, and the way the Japs were bombing that boat, going to Java, and then in Java, they're wandering around, no instructions. The point is that in the military, you're told you must obey orders, you must obey orders. But when things get bad, you don't get any orders because the officers have run away, or the officers are dead, you see. And then you see, and the horror was they were walking. You don't march, you see, and you don't march and when somebody falls behind, you go back and cheer him up because his shoes are worn out, and the other people's shoes haven't. So you don't discipline for having his shoes worn out. And my father was senior officer, but that's terrible when you read about that. And but I don't have to tell you that I reckon that's electrifying writing, and that's. You can go in at sort of 1940. Fall of Singapore was 1942. But you go in on that kind of date, and I think it's very fine writing, but it's because I'm his son.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting.
But, I mean, I don't have to talk about it. Anyway, where were we?